Hello, I'm Gordon Lang, editor of CameraLabs.com. I'd like to give you a brief video tour around the Sony Alpha DSLR A900. Here it is, the A900. This is the flagship model in the Sony Alpha DSLR range, and with nothing less than 24 megapixels, it's also the highest resolution DSLR at the time we made this video. Well, without going to medium format models anyway. Now the A900 is also Sony's first model to boast a full frame sensor. Full frame sensors have got two main advantages over the cropped frame sensors that you'll find in most DSLRs these days. First of all, their larger surface area makes them more sensitive to light, which in turn allows them to potentially deliver lower noise levels or higher resolutions without compromising noise. The second advantage is that there's no field reduction factor when you attach a lens. So, pop on a model like this Carl Zeiss 24 to 70mm and it really does deliver 24 to 70mm coverage in practice. Now of course there are a ton of features inside the A900, so without further ado, let's take a look at some of the highlights. The headline feature of the A900 is of course its massive resolution. With 24.6 megapixels it's simply higher than any of its full frame rivals without going to medium format models. Like all of Sony's Alpha DSLRs, the A900 features built-in Super Steady Shot. This provides anti-shake facilities by shifting the main sensor, and this in turn means it will work with any lens you attach. The A900's large pentaprism head delivers one of the best viewfinder experiences on the market. The frame looks absolutely huge and also delivers 100% coverage. A small switch to the side of the viewfinder closes a curtain to prevent stray light from entering the viewfinder, and there's also sensors underneath that will switch off the main screen when you bring your eyes to the viewfinder. However, because the anti-shake system is built into the A900, you won't see the stabilizing effect through the viewfinder. But like other Sony Alpha DSLRs, there's a small indicator in the viewfinder that shows how hard the system's working. Like the Alpha A700 before it, the new A900 features a 3-inch VGA screen. And like all Alpha DSLRs, the information rotates as you turn the camera on its side, so it always remains upright and easy to read. The VGA screen looks absolutely great when you're playing back images, but note that the A900, like the A700, does not support live view. And suffice it to say, there's no movie mode here. The A900 may be handling huge 24 megapixel files, but it's surprisingly quick in practice. Believe it or not, it offers 5 frames per second continuous shooting, and here's how that sounds. To make the most of the A900's 24 megapixel sensor, you'll need to equip it with a decent quality lens, such as the Sony 24 to 70mm f2.8 model I've got here. This is a Carl Zeiss lens and both the optical and the build quality are absolutely superb. This lens also features an SSM focusing motor which allows the focusing to be very quick and quiet. Now let's take a closer look at the A900's controls. The A900 is a very distinctive looking DSLR that's dominated by this large pentaprism viewfinder head. Unfortunately there's no room for a pop-up flash in there. Continuing the retro theme is this unusually shaped screen on the upper right surface that contains far less detail than you'll find on modern models from Canon and Nikon. Having few characters on the screen also means Sony has had to be quite creative with its abbreviations. ISO is fine, you can express that in 3 or 4 characters, but white balance has got some unusual shortenings. Auto's okay, but then you have shad, clud and tongue. But the drive mode is where it begins to get really creative. This single 0 represents just single shooting. Put it to continuous though, and that's how Sony represents it. However, maybe that is quite fair considering it is moving 24 megapixels at 5 frames per second. Turning to the rear of the camera, it looks very similar to the A700 before it. You have a dedicated switch here for the metering mode, a joystick, a rear thumb dial, a switch for the Super Steady Shot system, and also a large chunky power switch here. All of these controls are very easy to operate when gloved. If I turn the camera off and turn it to the side, you'll see that the A900 can take compact flash memory cards or memory sticks, and it will exploit the extra speed of UDMA cards. Underneath the camera, the A900 is powered by the same battery as the entire Alpha range. Finally, to the side of the camera, we'll have a look at the ports. Behind this flap, one for the remote control. Below that, the DC input. And to its side, 2 ports here, a combined USB and TV output and an HDMI port for connecting to high definition TVs. And finally at the front, a PC sync port for connecting to studio lighting. The A900 may not feature live view, but some consolation is the new intelligent preview feature. It's built upon the existing depth of field preview function. When you press the depth of field preview button, you'll see the normal effect through the optical viewfinder previewing the depth of field. However, when you let go of this button, the camera will take a picture and show you a preview on the screen. When you've got this preview, you can then adjust things like the exposure compensation, or maybe the white balance. You can also see the effect of the various different dynamic range optimizer settings, including the advanced levels 1 to 5. Once you're happy with the settings, you can then take the picture, confident in the knowledge you'll know how it's going to turn out. However, you can't save that initial preview, so if you by chance captured the perfect moment with it, unfortunately it's lost forever. The A900 presents a wealth of shooting information on its screen at the back, and notice that battery indication with an accurate percentage remaining in the bottom left corner. Press the display button and you can reformat the screen with larger fonts for easier readability. Press it again, you can return to that main view. If you push the function button, you can actually highlight some of these settings, and you can move that highlighter around with the joystick. When you found the setting that you want to change, you can either just turn the dial to change it directly, or push the joystick in to present a dedicated menu and adjust it from there. It's very quick and easy. The main menu system will be familiar to existing Alpha owners, particularly those of the A700, although there are a few small differences. First of all, you'll notice a new option for the AF micro adjustment. This lets you fine-tune the AF on lenses. On the next page, you'll also see a mode that will force the APS-C frame size. In playback mode, pressing the display button will superimpose some basic shooting information, and pressing it once more will go for a slightly shrunken view with a series of thumbnails along the top. Pressing the C button on the back will switch to a view with brightness, red, green and blue histograms and more advanced shooting information. Pressing the magnify button on the back of the A900 will take you straight to a 9.4 times view. That's actually 100% view you're looking at now, although you can use the dial to zoom in that bit further and check out the full detail of those 24 megapixel images. The Sony Alpha A900 may shun the latest gadgetry like live view and a movie mode, but you do get an awful lot of traditional photographic features for your money with this camera. You get huge 24 megapixel files and a full frame sensor, one of the best optical viewfinders on the market, and also quick handling with 5 frames per second continuous shooting. The A900, uniquely for a full frame camera, features built-in image stabilization. And to be fair to Sony on the gadget front, it also has a VGA screen and an HDMI port. Enthusiasts will also love the retro styling of this camera, although perhaps this little information screen on the top was a step too far. In terms of value, the A900 also looks like a relative bargain compared to the previous resolution leader, the Canon 1DS Mark III. At the time we made this video, the Canon cost almost 2.5 times as much as the A900, while only having 21 megapixels. However, the 1DS Mark III is a professional camera that is aimed at a much different market to the A900. This camera's main rivals are going to be the Nikon D700 and Canon's newer 5D Mark II. Now, each of those three cameras has got very different feature sets. Both the Nikon and the Canon have got live view. The Canon, of course, also has movie recording, but then the Sony has built-in image stabilization. There's a lot to weigh up, and to make life easier in working out which will be the best for you, we've directly compared the features of each of these cameras in our full review at cameralabs.com. Of course, the image quality is a massive factor, so check out our results pages in our full review, where you'll see how the A900 measures up in terms of resolution and noise levels against the Nikon D700 and also the Canon EOS 1DS Mark III. So to find out if the Sony A900 is the right full-frame model for you, check out our full review. You'll find it at www.cameralabs.com.